Tod, okay, thank you for coming to that episode of Denim and Leather Podcast. From Ace Frehley's, from Frehley's Comet, from 4x8, and from great solo career, Tod Howarth. Thank you.
Thank you, Euros.
Thank you, man. I wanted to ask you first. We'll get back to your solo career on how many records you have. I think you have 4, right? Solo records?
Actually 8.
Oh, 8 solo records. Wow.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, it's either 7 or 8. I think.
But something that I didn't know, I know a few of your bands, but I didn't know that you were in a band called 707.
Yes, that was my first major recording act. Was 707, and I joined them in 1981 when I moved to LA. Moved to LA in late 79, 1980, and by the time I had auditioned and found out about 707, it was, I think, I knew about them, but I auditioned, I think, late 80 or early 81, and eventually got the gig.
So you played guitar, or?
I played 4 instruments. I played initially. I learned piano first. I was always singing. Then I played drums for a few years, but I was always playing piano. And then I picked up guitar and bass. So I played 4 instruments. Guitar, bass are primarily the same. I played drums, keyboards, guitar, bass. And I'm a singer, songwriter, producer.
Yeah, and you sing. So
yeah.
So yeah, you started. How many? What record? You have records with 707, right?
Yeah, the first one I recorded with them was a record called Megaforce. No, actually it was The Bridge. And during that time, the label that we were on, Casablanca. The man that was running it for us, Neil Bogart, I believe that's how it worked out. He was instrumental in having us record The Bridge, and then he passed away. Or was it? I think it was Neil Bogart, and then the album got shelved for years. So while that was shelved, we got on a new record label because they released us onto Boardwalk Records, and we recorded a song called the album Megaforce.
Oh.
And Megaforce had some songs on it. One of them, which was the title track Megaforce, which later became a song called Calling to You and Frehley's Comet.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. By the way, there is Megaforce Records company back in the day, right?
Yeah. That's part of the story, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But I didn't know that you were on the same label Casablanca as Kiss were in the early days of Kiss.
Yeah, that's wild how that all wrapped around. Yeah, I always seemed to be a couple degrees away from Kiss, even though I was never, with Kiss or around Kiss.
Yeah. Also, I think in Casablanca were also Angel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they were, in the 70s they were a pretty big label, but in the 80s I don't think so, right?
Yeah, the power changed a little bit. I think Kiss seemed to lose a little bit of its popularity to a degree. Angel was up and then down to a degree, and I know a lot of the guys in Angel. As a matter of fact, the replacement bass player Felix Robinson went on to play with 707 for a while, and I just played with him on a couple songs up in, or actually we saw each other in Florida when I did it was New York. I did a special birthday party for a manager of ours, and Punky Meadows was there. Frank Domino was there.
with Danny Stanton.
Danny Stanton, right?
Yeah, he was a guest on my show. We know each other.
Right, that's right. I think you mentioned it. Yeah. Danny's a great guy.
Danny's awesome. I met him several times in Europe on festivals backstage. He's always the best.
I'm not surprised. That's great.
Yeah. Wanted to ask you afterwards, after 707, you auditioned for Frehley's Comet, or you made the band together with Ace?
After 707, I pretty much went kind of financially broke. I was living in San Francisco at that point, and I had sang backups for Ted Nugent on his Penetrator album with the late Brian Howe, who was lead singer at that point. And then Ted knew me from touring with 707 and Ted Nugent. And Ted said, hey, I know a guy plays guitar and keyboards and he sings, let's get him in my touring band for the Penetrator album in early January of 1984. So they called me up after I'd moved back to San Diego, which I'm here now, and said, hey, you want to come out and audition, or really don't need to audition. We know what you can do. Just come out, start rehearsing, and do the European tour, and then probably the States tour. I said, yeah, sure. So I joined Nugent in 1984.
For the tour?
Yeah.
And for the record? Yeah.
Well, I did all the backgrounds. The record was done. And I'd done the backgrounds singing for Penetrator. And then all of Ted's touring in 1984, I did that. And then when that was over, it was over. And, I had two young kids at that point in time. They're like, okay, I need to continue to work here. What's going to go on? And by that time, I had been pursued by Cheap Trick's management and people, because some of the people that play with them and were working with them knew of me from LA. I said, hey, this guy can play keyboard and sing, and he's got this high range and everything. So they got in contact with me, and so I auditioned twice for Cheap Trick. And eventually got on that tour with them in 1985 and 86.
So you did the tour with them, but no records?
No real records. They really didn't need anybody for records, because they could all tinker around on keyboards enough as it was to record.
Yeah.
Later, they ended up using some other people. I did go in the studio with them a couple times, and we did some stuff for. Matter of fact, I did the demo for Mighty Wings for the Top Gun movie, and worked that all out. And then they re-recorded it and used a studio musician back in Chicago. So no, I never did any of their studio albums. I just toured with them extensively.
But you did you did sing backing also on Loudness, right? On the Japan
Loudness. Yeah, that Loudness came later when they knew of me when I was playing with Frehley's Comet.
It was later on. Okay.
Later on.
So you created together with Ace Frehley's Comet, or you were invited? How was that?
What happened is I was on tour with Cheap Trick, and in 85 and 86, and I think in about mid 86, we were touring, doing co-headlining with John Waite, from the Babies.
Yeah.
When he was doing I Ain't Missing You at All, that tour, great songs. And I used to listen to the band do their sound check, and it was Frankie LaRocca on drums and John Regan on bass, Arthur Stead on keyboards, and I was going, wow, they sound great, because I love John Waite's vocals. So one time after their sound check, I just went right up to John Regan. He was walking into the arena, because we were playing this pretty big place. And I walked up to John and I said, hey, I'm Tod Howarth. I play keyboards for Cheap Trick. I love the way you sound. Your bass tone is amazing. And so, I know who you are. I've been watching you sing up there. So we got to talking, and he learned that I could play. I told him, I'm actually a guitar player. I'm a lead singer, songwriter. And, I've been playing keyboards first, but playing keyboards for Cheap Trick. Yeah. So he said, that's amazing. He said, I'm working on a project right now. So I really can't tell you who it is, but I'm working on a project that you might be fitted for someone like you if the styles mesh. So we exchanged information, And we saw each other through the rest of the tour. And then after we had a break on the tour, and John had called me and said, "Hey, this is who it is. It's Ace Frehley from Kiss, and it's a band called Frehley's Comet. We've got 5 members, and we want to consolidate down to 4 members.
Oh, okay.
And we'd like you to come audition." So I managed to have my travel agent, who booked my flights for a cheap trick, I had him fly me out to New York prior to a day of going to the next leg on a cheap trick tour, and I auditioned for John, Ace, and Anton was in the studio, and I think it wasn't SIR, but some studio in New York. I forget. I think it was a recording studio.
Yeah, it was Anton Fig on drums, right?
Yeah, Anton Fig.
Yeah,
and it was great. I've never seen Ace without makeup, but because I never really followed him. And then the band was good, but it was a small room. But I was like, wow, it's pretty pounding. Then the material wasn't quite what I wanted to do, but it's still a business move, and I thought it could work. And Ace, he liked me, and the band liked me, or the guys did. But Ace wasn't too sure of me because I wasn't a wild lead player. I mean, I can play leads, but mine are pretty much melody and stuff. But so I went back out into a cheap trick, and John said, "Hey, come on back and do some other stuff, do some leads, and do this, do that." So I did the second thing. Another time I flew out and auditioned the second time, and that's when Ace said, "Yeah, I think the guy will work," and that's how I get into Frehley's Comet. And I went into the studio in January of 1987 to finish up the album they had already started recording, which was Frehley's Comet.
So you sang on that album also?
I think I sang about 3 songs. I sang Breakout. I think Something Moved. And I can't remember what the other song was. I don't even have the records here with me. But and I contributed either 1 or 2 songs. And of course, I got a little bit more involved for Second Sighting. But yeah, the album had already been in the process of being recorded.
Is that the album that Eddie Trunk got signed?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Eddie Trunk, yeah, he got it signed, and that was the album that
Megaforce? No.
No, Megaforce. It was Megaforce Records.
Oh, okay.
Distributed by Atlantic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm kind of having a brain fart here, thinking of the producer, Eddie Kramer. Jeez.
Oh, Eddie Kramer.
Eddie Kramer. He did the first that record, and they had already started recording it, and I went in and embellished, and I added some stuff, guitars and vocals, background, and some lead vocals, and it was a fun record, a lot of fun.
It's a great record. You also were on the second one, right?
Second Sighting came out. Before that came out, we had a live +1 recording with Anton Fig back in the band for 2 weeks. Because Anton Fig couldn't tour with the original Frehley's Comet because he got the job with David Letterman's show. And that would go on to last him for over 30 years. So it was a smart move on Anton Fig to stay with Letterman. So we got Billy Ward, not from Sabbath, but another Billy Ward, who's a very good drummer. But he and John, butt heads on that. John finally told him, you're out, and he got Jamie Aldaker to come back in the band. But before that, we did 2 weeks with Anton Fig and recorded live +1. And that was released as, like a live EP.
Yeah.
Then the record company wants to release another record, which I thought was too soon. And Ace wasn't ready, writing all the songs, and he was sick a lot through that recording. So I had a lot of songs ready to go, including the song "It's Over Now," which is a power ballad. And so we recorded that record primarily a lot with Ace not being there a lot because he didn't have the songs ready. We were trying to meet the deadline for the record company, and he was sick a lot. But I mean, he didn't really protest it. He just wasn't there. And because John and I pushed to get the song, the album out, people had the conception that we were trying to take over the band, which was, nowhere near the case. It was just the way things were.
But what was the? I saw some. I didn't see the video. I read a video of you that Atlantic Records wanted to drop you off the band of Release Comet.
Oh yeah. Well, what had happened is after we were on tour with Iron Maiden, and the second siding was already out, and they had a couple singles, and it was doing okay. We were on tour with Iron Maiden. Unfortunately, it wasn't planned very well financially. And that wasn't my fault. I didn't have anything to do with that. But I guess I could have stepped in and said, hey, we're spending way too much money. We ran out of money and damn near went bankrupt on that tour. So we had to leave. And in the process of that falling apart, the label thought, let's get the band back in and do another record, but let's have Ace write and sing everything and not have Tod do any of that. So I guess I kind of blamed it on me to a degree, which, maybe it was partly that perspective was the fault. I don't know. It was primarily the Ace fans wanted to see Ace and Ace styled material. I get that. I mean, even more so now. But back then, for me, at that point, I had 3 children and a family and a house, and I'm going, how am I going to support myself if I can't write songs? And then if I'm not even singing them, that's, just a slap in the face to me.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided, look, I called Ace up and I said, Ace, I can't stay. I gotta have to, try my luck and strike out and try to get a solo deal and put another band together because I'm screwed if I can't make any money.
Yeah.
Publishing or otherwise. And he understood it. He said, I understand. I wish you wouldn't go, but I understand what you have to do. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. You're still great with Ace, right?
Ace and I mean, when we see each other, which is not very often anymore, we're fine. I don't have a problem with him. He doesn't have a problem with me. We haven't talked to each other in years. Well, last time I saw him was, I think we did a show in Miami when I was with 4x and then we had Return of the Comet with Richie Scarlett and Steve Budgie Warner, and we had, that was actually 4x But anyhow, we had Ace come up and do a song with us, and the sound went bad, or there was a big debacle on there. Ace was irritated because he couldn't hear himself. That was primarily, I think, the last time I spoke with Ace, or it may have been in one of the shows. We did a show with him. He was with his band at the Chance in New York, and I was with 4x But we haven't really talked a lot at all. Ace is doing what Ace wants to do, and that's his own solo band.
Yeah. And so after Frehley's Comet came the 90s, and in the 90s you recorded, I think, solo albums, right?
I went back with Cheap Trick in 1990, late 90, early 91. I think it was late 90.
Oh, okay.
I went back to Cheap Trick for another 6 years. But in the meantime, I started recording a bunch of solo stuff. My first solo effort was just me and a small little 8-track digital machine. And I had to use the drum machines on my keyboard because I didn't have a real set. So I had to program the drums. And the production was horrible, but that's the first solo CD was called Silhouette.
Okay.
And so all through the years, I put out about 8 CDs now.
8 solo records.
Yes, solo records. Yes.
How did it go?
All of them self-financed, and I had one just distributed by Shock Records, Cobalt Parlor. And I put a band together, a tour behind it, but that's so expensive, and that just didn't work out.
Yeah, that's tough. But while you were doing the solo records, you also played in other bands, or no?
Yeah, Cheap Trick.
No, afterwards, after 2000.
After Cheap Trick, I put together. I had actually, before I was back with Cheap Trick, I put a solo band together here in San Diego in 1990. I take this going backwards.
Yeah.
Put a couple solo bands together, and even into Cheap Trick, and we got signed by Gene Simmons Records.
Oh,
Gene came to see us, and I talked to Gene, and he signed us. And we did a showcase, and we were signed to Simmons Records, and we're going to get distribution by Warner's Brothers.
Okay.
In early 90 and 91. And then that's when grunge started to take off.
Yeah.
And they dropped us like a hot potato.
Wow. Yeah, like many bands, like many great bands of the early 90s, yeah.
Yeah, that genre was over with because here comes, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, and all these bands that I actually really like.
Yeah.
But it wasn't of my genre. And my stuff was, everybody was familiar with me being with Frehley's Comet and Cheap Trick and that type of thing. So yeah, it killed my record deal quickly.
Yeah. So after 2000s maybe you did some other bands, or I know I'm very familiar with 4x8, but before 4x8, did you have any band?
Before 4x8, no, because I had
solo stuff. Okay.
Solo stuff. I was gonna put something together here in, I guess 2010ish, somewhere around there, but it just became very labor intensive. So I started working on just writing material. I was doing a lot of working on the commercial real estate that we own. So I was busy doing physical work, writing songs, and I was in contact with John Regan, and he kept asking me, hey, let's try to do a reunion thing with Ace Frehley, see if we get Frehley's Comet to something, we get Anton Fig and us together. And so we finally got a hold of Ace, because he was very distant, and he had no real interest in it, and if he was going to do it, he wanted way too much money for his cut, and there's just no feasible way to do it. So that led to 4x8 band being put together.
Yeah,
that was about 2015, I think.
Yeah, I had last year, about a year ago, when I started this podcast, I had a guest, Sean Kelly, the guitar player that played with you.
Great guy.
Great player, yeah, great guy. And I follow, because I'm a huge Twisted Sister fan, so I followed all that 4x8 did,
Cool.
And the album was incredible. Great production, great songs.
Thank you.
I loved the album. So, me being a huge AJ Pero fan, God bless him, and John Regan, God bless him.
Yes.
I don't know why you switched so many drummers, Sted Howland and Rob Affuso. It was 3 drummers, right?
Right. Well, what happened is we put the band together, or the band actually was kind of assembled for us, with Sean Kelly, who's a great guitar player, great guy, and Sted Howland. So we were going into the studio. John and I financed the whole record, the Relentless record. We get ready to go on the record. John and I are down doing a KISS convention in New York, I think it was, in New Jersey or Long Island. And all of a sudden, a fan of ours, said, have you seen this post about Stet? And I'm like, what? I said, Stet's been in a car wreck, and we're going in the studio in 2 days. And I said, no, I haven't heard anything about that at all. And Stet never called us to let us know he was in a car wreck. It's like, oh, geez. So we get a hold of Stet and said, dude, how you doing? You be okay with it? I said, I don't think I'll be recording this. And we didn't want to rub it in, say, well, why didn't you call us and tell us? Because we got studio time booked and blah, blah. So Danny Stanton, who was also instrumental in putting the band together, and this is after the original 4x8 with Sean Kelly had played. He found us AJ Pero, because AJ Pero was kind of on some idle time, not doing a lot because his sister was on a break, and nobody knew at the time, but I think he was going to break away from Twisted Sister because he was doing some of the heavy stuff as well. So we asked AJ Perro to do this, and I sent him some tracks, and he loved it. Great guy. And then we got in the studio, and I actually taught him songs in the recording studio, and we tracked a few of those songs, just AJ Perro and me. And then John came in later, put the bass in.
Yeah.
And so it was I mean, we were just relentless in putting this thing together.
Yeah.
And we were going to record the next part of the album after the first part of the year when Danny Stanton got married and AJ Perro passes away.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So we're like, oh, this is horrible. So at Danny Stanton's wedding was Soul System Orchestra wedding band, which is Rob Fuso's corporation. And unbelievable band, by the way. And so I had never met Rob, but a couple of guys met Rob and knew Rob. And so we got to talking to Rob and said, hey, would you be interested in doing the rest of the record? And Rob said, well, let me listen to the stuff. And he did. I said, yeah, it sounds great. So we recorded the rest of the stuff with Rob. Same thing. I taught him some of the stuff in his studio. And then brought it up in our studio, got that done. And that's how Rob got into 4x8.
Yeah, and you had some gigs, right? You also were in Europe, I think. No.
Yes. Yeah, we did. We did some shows. We did. I think we did with Sted Howell. We did Brussels, I believe. And then we did Australia with Rob Fuso. But we never got to play a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, was there any plans with that band to record some more stuff or to tour more or no?
John and I had thought about doing it, and we were thinking about doing it before John had passed. And John and I were kind of licking our wounds because it took us a while, but we recouped our money from doing the record. But we didn't make a lot of money. Not that we were in it to make a lot of money. We just want to get the music out, get our investments back, and try to keep pounding and see if we get out there touring. But it's, again, so difficult to do with older guys who need to make some money and cut some corners, but need to pay the bills, and which is really difficult. So by the time that, I should mention Pat Gasparini, by this time, great songwriter, great guitar player, had replaced Sean Kelly because Sean decided it was too heavy, he wanted out. We had talked about doing another record again, but we never did. But Pat Gasparini and I are still talking right now about trying to do something, but not so much on the recording level, just more live stuff. But it's just, he's in a couple of the bands. I've been doing some other projects. I want to work on some solo stuff again this year. One more time. Yeah, I'm 68 years old this year. So I have some ideas that I want to do, and who knows what's going to happen. But 4x8 may just put something back out there again. I don't know who the lineup's going to be, but hopefully I'm in it.
Maybe you can get Rob Fuso again. I mean, he's probably.
It depends on his schedule. He's so very busy. That was kind of a tough thing too, because great guy, love him to death, and we get along so well. And he's a phenomenal drummer. But his business is so important because he's got to make the money that when he's got contracts to do shows here and there, and then Europe, he's got to do them. So try and book shows with 4x8. We can't do that because Rob's got to do this and we're over there. It's like, it's tough to do, but who knows what will happen for later this year.
Man,
don't know.
I'm a drummer, and me being a fan, he has some iconic drums on the first two Skid Row records. It's unbelievable. He's
badass. When he first started playing 4x8, he was still playing kind of like the wedding stuff, which is still, good, intense, but it wasn't like, the Rob we all knew. So when John Regan and I got together with him on his ranch in upstate New York, and we started going through the tunes, John and I are looking at each other like, what's going on here? Rob, come on, hit those things harder. What the fuck, So he got kind of like, I can hit these. So he started hitting hard. And he go, okay, that's the guy we know, Then he started pounding. He hit it so hard he had to wrap his wrist. Like, son of a bitch, I haven't hit this hard in a while. But we got him back into shape, you know, and he was smoking.
Yeah. What are your plans now? What are your future plans? You want to make a record, or what are you doing right now?
Right now, I am working on, and this is my little second studio. I have two studios, a big studio and a little studio. They're both a mess, but I'm writing new material that is going to be a different style than my last heavy rock CD. It's not going to be so dark and brooding, I guess, as it were. It's going to be more, it's hard to describe, but it's going to be more modern, more upbeat, dancey, bouncy. Kind of like, well, it's me, but Van Halen meets Blue Murder meets Alice in Chains meets Stone Temple Pilots means, I don't know, some modern material. Just driving, pounding, good rock with good melody, and not a lot of lulls and stuff like that. I want some bouncing stuff. Where, you know, as soon as we start playing, people going, "Fuck, that's good stuff." You know, bouncing and moving.
You're gonna
because I think that's important to get the crowd into that type of stuff. And I have local guys here. They're unbelievable musicians, and I've just started to meet and playing and guest appearing with other friends of mine. I guest appear in some vocals. I even did some bass guitar for some friends of mine just recently. In the House of Blues here. It was a lot of fun. But I've got a couple guys that really smoke, and I'm going to use local guys here to do a local project. We're going to record first, and if it goes good enough, then I'll say, let's take it out and play locally, see what happens. That way we keep our costs down by staying local. You know, and if something happens with it, maybe I can get a couple, years out of it or a little bit of leg, but, we'll see what happens. You know, there's new young rockers that come up and they're kicking ass, and, they're going to be, move over, old dude, you know.
But no school like the old school, you know.
You really, when you listen to some of the old stuff, like, man, that really is pumping. But you got to get the crowd to listening. And our crowd now, a lot of them are now becoming grandparents. Our listening crowd is like usually, 50s, mid 50s and younger. I mean, some older as well, but and I'm a grandparent. I've got a 19-year-old grandson who's in the Navy. Got an 11-year-old granddaughter and an almost 4-year-old another granddaughter. So those people are all older and they're busy. Like, we want to rock, but first we got to do this other thing over here. It's like, come on, old people. So it's you got to get those people out of their shell to come see the old rockers again. And some of those people are going to bed at 9:30. It's kind of late. For bed.
You were just in NEM, right? On the I saw you with on Facebook with your van and stuff, right?
I was with what now?
With your trailer. You have a trailer.
Oh yeah, our motorhome. We have a diesel pusher. It's 40 foot long, 2 slide outs. It's really comfortable. As a matter of fact, I'm selling it now because we're going to get an even bigger one. I got to get a special license to go 45 feet long. But we went to NAMM and had a great time. My wife Valerie went with me. Ran into a bunch of local guys here that we know, and then I ran to my cousin Jason Sheff, who plays bass and sang for the band Chicago for years. He's talented. And then I ran to Matt Starr. I ran to a bunch of other people that I know. It was a good show.
You did play there something? No?
I did a couple songs with a friend of mine, Giancarlo Floridia. He writes for Frontier Records, and you're talented. I call him a kid. Talented kid. Plays guitar and sings his butt off. And but that's the only thing I really did there. I didn't play for anybody else this year, but it was a good NAMM. I ran into a lot of people that even from the East Coast, so it was a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. Okay, we should wrap it up. You told me your future plans, and I wish you all the best in the next few years with if you're preparing the record.
Thank you. And I forgot to say, you asked me, my book, my autobiography is done.
Wow, really?
I am in the process right now of getting it to the editor to edit it, and then I'm going to get it published, and then it's going to be out of my todhowarth.biz site.
When is it going out?
I'm not sure. It's probably going to be at least maybe a month or so, because I was ready to be out before Christmas.
Yeah.
But I had a problem with the publishing company that I was going to use. So I had to revamp, and I'm going with another company to help me with it. And then, of course, Christmas came, and I had some issues with my family issues with my parents. My mother, 92 years old, broke a hip.
Whoa.
And then I had some shows I had to do in Florida, and then here in San Diego and elsewhere, guest appearances. But I'll be doing the book will be out, and it'll and hopefully get a lot of people to read it. And then I'm going to do an audio book right here in my studio with it as well.
You're going to do a book tour, maybe?
I don't know if I'll do that. It's a possibility. It depends on how well it does.
Yeah. Great. I'm going to be buying the book. I love rock stuff, rock biographies, really. Yeah.
But let me ask, fantastic. I'm very appreciative. Thank you. But let me ask you something. Would you like to hear the sex stories at the end of the book or in the middle of the book or at all?
The sex stories. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Probably in the middle. I don't know.
I've had people say, "Are you going to put all the juicy stuff?" I said, "Well, I don't know if I'm not really sure I should." I had some females say, "Yeah, you better put that stuff in there."
Yeah.
Okay. So it'll be, if I do it, it'll probably be at the back of the book.
Yeah. Probably because not everybody gonna get to the end, you know.
Yeah. Or they go read the end first, and they go back to the book. Who knows?
Okay, I'm gonna be sharing all your links when the book comes out, and I'm gonna get you as a guest again to talk about
Please
the book.
do.
Yeah, to talk about the book. We can do it.
Sounds good. In a couple of months when it's going, flowing, just keep in touch.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for getting in touch with me and asking me to do this. I'm so happy we got to do it.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you a lot.
Appreciate it so much.